Hello and welcome back to the Trainers of the World Tournament Season 2. I'm your host, DeltaTDS, and today for match number 29, we've got the Pokemon trainer Kris going up against the Pokemon Wielder Akari. Now, looking on this field, we can see one very glaring Pokemon, and that's Quagsire. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Nah, but for real, we've got an Arceus on the field. That's being used by Akari. She's got the Garchomp as her ace, and Kris has the Feraligatr as her ace. Once these trainers are ready, we're going to see who's going to be taking game number 1 and seeing just how terrifying that Arceus is. I know that I've made one of these Arceus sets. I don't remember if it's Akari or Ray. Kris starting off with the Togekiss and Hitmonchan. Akari starting off with the Togekiss and Typhlosion, frisking the Wakon Berry and the Assault Vest on the Hitmonchan. Switching out to the Quagsire, Togekiss goes for Protect, Heat Wave doing 20% to Quagsire, Air Slash doing 40%, healing up 25 thanks to that Citrus Berry. Heat Wave getting a critical hit on Togekiss, doing over 50 to Air Slash doing under 50. Air Slash doing 36 to Quagsire, flinching it, making it unable to move. Togekiss going for Protect again. Heat Wave is going to finish off that Quagsire, being the first Pokemon fainting as Akari's Togekiss sets up a Tailwind. Kris sending out the Arcanine, intimidating both of Akari's Pokemon. Not gonna do much to, them as their special attackers. Heat Wave gonna miss the Arcanine, doing 33% to Togekiss. Air Slash does 21%. Air Slash does 24% to Togekiss. Snarl lowering both of Akari's Pokemon's special attack. Now that's gonna do something. Going for the Protect, Heat Wave finishes off the Togekiss, does 9% to Arcanine. Arcanine goes for another Snarl, missing the Typhlosion, as Kris sends out the Feraligatr. I believe this one has been edited to use the Dragonize ability. Feraligatr goes for the Aqua Jet, taking out that Typhlosion. Arcanine goes for Howl, increasing both of their attack stats, as Togekiss's Tailwind peters out. Akari is going to send out the Hisuian Lilligant. Feraligatr going to Mega Evolve and facing straight towards me. That's terrifying. Arcanine going Terra Normal. Stream Speed does 70% to Lilligant. Togekiss goes for another Tailwind as Lilligant's Leaf Blade goes into that Feraligatr. Switching out Togekiss to the Garchomp. Extreme Speed takes out the Lilligant. Liquidation does 77% to Garchomp. Rough Skin only hurting Feraligatr a little bit, doing an 1/8 of its HP. As Akari sends back out that Togekiss. Her side still has the Tailwind for 2 more turns. Thank God they have not made a way to increase Tailwind to 8 turns. Garchomp gonna Mega Evolve. Togekiss with the Follow Me, taking that extreme speed over a third. Scale Shot hitting that Feraligatr's Protect. Trying to increase its speed to make up for the lack of speed it has. Togekiss goes for Follow Me, taking another extreme speed. Aqua Jet takes out that Togekiss. And Scale Shot is going to take out that Feraligatr with a critical hit on the first attack. Tailwind peters out, but Garchomp is much faster now. And Akari's going to send out the Arceus as Kris sends out the Mismagius. Editor, you know what to do. Put that... No, wait. It's Kris's turn. Never mind. Ignore me. Arceus with the extreme speed taking out the Arcanine. Scale Shot doing 60% to Mismagius. Thunderbolt doing 30% to Arceus. As Kris sends out her last Pokemon, that Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan we saw at the beginning, but it swapped out. We know it's got the Assault Vest thanks to Typhlosion's Frisk. Upper handing the Arceus, flinching it. Scale Shot's gonna take out the Miss Magius. The Garchomp is at +3 speed. Hitmonchan's upper hand failing. Earthquake taking out the Arceus and leaving Hitmonchan with just a third of its HP. Mach Punch will take out the Mega Garchomp. Will-O-Wisp burning the Hitmonchan, cutting its attack in half. It's 1v1 right now. Fire Punch doing 12%. Hex takes out the Hitmonchan. And with one Pokemon remaining, Akari takes game number 1. We saw the extreme speed from the Arceus, the Mega Garchomp with Scale Shot and Earthquake. We saw the Spiritomb with Will-O-Wisp and Hex. Actually, let me see if I can find when. But we saw the Typhlosion with Frisk, and we saw all 4 moves from that Togekiss with the Citrus Berry. And then from Kris's side, we saw the Mega Feraligatr. We saw the Terra Normal on the Arcanine with Extreme Speed and Howl. We saw the Wakan Berry on Togekiss. We saw the Assault Vest on Hitmonchan, especially with that upper hand. And we didn't get to see anything from that Quagsire aside from the Citrus Berry. Quite a good game 1. It was getting really close there. We are back on the field for game number 2, and we can see that Kris has brought her legendary Pokemon, that Suicune. We can see quite a few changes to these teams. Well, Akari only brought the Kleavor, that's different, as well as having the Togekiss as her ace. For Kris's side though, we see the Suicune, we see the Metagross, we see the Xatu, the Jolteon, the Meganium, and the Blissey. Now we've seen all 12 of Kris's Pokemon, while so far we've only seen 7 different Pokemon from Akari. Once these trainers are ready, we're going to see if Akari takes game number 2 or if Kris brings this to a game number 3. Kris sending out the Xatu and the Suicune. Akari sends out the Arceus and the Garchomp. What a terrifying lead from Akari. Suicune is usually seen as I believe a support Pokemon. I know it gets Tailwind, which is an interesting move for it. Akari Mega Evolves that Garchomp. Icy Wind doing 35% to Garchomp, lowering its speed as Garchomp goes for Scale Shot, bringing its speed back to +1 as Arceus goes for Swords Dance. Xatu did set up that Tailwind, so both Pokemon were going to try and set up speed control, slowing down Akari's Pokemon while also doubling Kris's own Pokemon speed. Switching out to the Typhlosion, frisking the Focus Sash and the Citrus Berry. Extreme Speed does over 50% to Suicune. Psychic does 27% to Arceus. Scald does 17% to Arceus. Typhlosion got a safe switch in there. Arceus with the Extreme Speed, critical hit, takes out the Suicune. Heat Wave from the Typhlosion takes out the Xatu, but not before Xatu can get a Psychic off on Arceus, doing nearly 30%. Kris is going to send out the Metagross and the Jolteon, which I believe I forgot to say, but Jolteon is Kris's ace, as we can clearly see here. Metagross going Terra Water, Jolteon going Detect, protecting against that Extreme Speed. Bullet Punch leaves Arceus on 4%. Heat Wave does 17% to Metagross, revealing that it does have the leftovers, and Tailwind peters out on Kris's side. Switching out the Jolteon to Meganium, Extreme Speed does 84% to Meganium. Bullet Punch takes out the Arceus. Heat Wave takes out the Meganium. taking it out as soon as it hits the field, sending back out the Jolteon as Akari sends out the Cleavor. Bullet Punch does 57% to Cleavor. Heat Wave does 44% to Jolteon and gets the burn as it goes for Gigavolt Havoc, taking out the Typhlosion. Cleavor goes for Stone Axe, setting up the Stealth Rocks. That's right. And Akari sends out the Spirit Tune. It's currently 3v4 right now. Kris has used both her Terra and her Gimmick, while Akari still has the Mega Garchomp and that Terra to use, if she so chooses to. Cleavor going for a Protect against that Bullet Punch. Thunderbolt doing over a third to the Spirit Tune as Will-O-Wisp lands on that Metagross, burning it, cutting its attack in half. Both of Kris's Pokemon are burned. Bullet Punch doing 10%, Thunderbolt taking out the Cleavor, Snarl missing the Metagross but hitting a Jolteon, lowering its special attack. Both Pokemon getting hurt by the burn. Akari sends out the Togekiss. Switching out to Yo Mama. Togekiss going to Terra Fairy, taking that Bullet Punch for 19%. Snarl missing the Blissey, hitting the Metagross, not going to lower its stats thanks to that Clear Body. Blissey reveals to have the leftovers. Yo Mama going for Helping Hand on the Metagross. Bullet Punch doing nearly, well, over a quarter to Togekiss. Air Slash doing 31% to Metagross. Will-O-Wisp missing that Blissey. We've got 3 Pokemon healing up from leftovers, though that burn cancels out Metagross's leftovers, leaving it on 2%. Metagross goes for Protect. Blissey goes for Protect. Air Slash hits the Protect. Snarl hits the Protects. Metagross barely holding on. Blissey going for Helping Hand. Togekiss protecting against that Bullet Punch. Snarl takes out the Metagross. Yo Mama only takes 5%. Completely healed up from those leftovers. I mean, even if Blissey manages to take out Spiritomb and Togekiss, there's still that Garchomp in the back, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Blissey's not very physically bulky, and Jolteon can't even hurt it. Yeah. Oh, Blissey has no attacking moves. Oh. You know what? Yeah. For the first time in TWT history, we'll allow a forfeit. And just so it's not hell to edit, and also there was literally no way for Kris to win, Kris forfeits, making this the first and hopefully only forfeit in this tournament, in the series of these tournaments. And Akari takes game number 2 with 3 Pokemon remaining, which means she's going to be going on to game 2, or round 2, where she'll be facing off against the Lore Keeper Zinnia. So, Arceus versus Mega Rayquaza, that's going to be one hell of a match to watch. But join us tomorrow, where we'll be seeing the leader of the Society of Battle Connoisseurs, Jacinth, going up against the best character from Pokemon Legends ZA, Emma. Hopefully there's no commentator's curse, but thank you so much for watching, and until then, take care.